to not just me having ninth grade friends, me having 10th grade friends that'll say, trust me, I've been where you were. I was in ninth grade. There were times that felt awful, right? But you have to get through them.
Yeah.
And then it's also nice having teachers that you can talk to where they're able to say, yeah, we get it. High school's not sometimes the best moments of your life, but getting through high school, learning all you're learning, and keep going, like, we believe in you.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's a really strong phrase. That was, I don't know if it was North, maybe it was just Coppell Middle School North, but I think it was the entire district slogan for last year. Mm-hmm. It was, I believe in you. Mm. And that personally brings a lot of power. A lot of people say that sometimes without really knowing all the strength that it has, but even just saying I believe in you can really help bring someone back together, and like it's part of that whole someone always has your back.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, you were talking about earlier, that sort of whether you can see that person or not, that feeling is positive.
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
And there's always someone out there who believes in you, who wants you to succeed, and it's more, you can feel it even more, especially if you see that person. Right. So if I can see someone that's saying to my face, come on, you can do it, just keep pushing, you'll eventually get there, it makes me feel like, oh wow, I can actually do this.
Yeah. That's great. Is there any things that get in the way of your excitement of learning?
Yes. There are.
You mentioned saying no, like when a teacher says no to you.
Yeah, when teachers say you have to slow down, you have to go at the pace of the regular class, you can't really do what you want to do, or you can't learn what you want to learn, that really kind of turns me off. It's like, really? Then why am I in school if not to learn what I want to learn, correct? Yeah. And so that's the big one. And then the other one is when I'm surrounded by people that don't push me. When I'm surrounded by people that'll let me fall back. When I'm surrounded by people that'll say, oh, yeah, school's there, but, it's just there. You don't really have to learn anything. You can just kind of get by with C's. People like that, I'm very influenced by my outside environment. So if I'm surrounded by people like that, I start to dip into that mindset where I become just apathetic. And that is very harmful. And I feel like that's where my parents and my parents and a lot of other CISD kids' parents I've seen have done a really good job of, when their peers fail to push people, when sometimes their teachers fail to motivate the students, the parents are always there, like, pushing the kids. You can achieve more. You can go farther. And so that's really been an important factor to me, that my parents have always been there to say, you can do it. We believe in you. Yeah.
No, that's great. Well, in kind of our last minutes, let's talk about the future and kind of what gets you excited. Let's imagine it's 5 years from now or 10 years from now. If you had a chance to write the headline about the schools in Coppell, what would you hope would be in that headline? What would it say?
Coppell is teaching its kids. I don't know how to phrase this, but Coppell is teaching its kids how to learn. Not how to learn. I guess how to learn and how to apply what they learn.
Wow.
Which is kind of an odd statement in it, but I think the two things that I value most about education are not like what you learn itself, but it's the skills you learn to learn. Because in college, no one's going to ask you if you know the chemical composition of sodium chloride. Well, I mean, that is chemical composition. If you know the chemical composition of table salt, people will ask you, people will say, how are you going to solve this problem? And they'll say, we have these facts, use them. And we have these resources, use them. And you're going to need to know how to use the resources, how to take notes and summarize what facts you have, which is exactly what you learn in school. And then you do need to know some knowledge, right? You need to know 1 + 1 is 2, 2 + 2 is 4, right? You need to know that stuff. And if you don't, then that's a problem. But knowing the basics and knowing complicated stuff are different. And then knowing how to learn, and the other important part is how to apply what you learn. Because you can know how to learn, but if you're in a situation where you have all the facts to solve a problem, but you don't know how to solve the problem, it doesn't do you any good. It doesn't do your company any good, or whatever organization you work for. You have to know how to take those facts and apply them. You have to know how to take what you learn and apply it.
Yeah.
And so that would be my benchmark 1. So be it, like, that would be awesome, but that would be the first step to this. My end goal is, maybe this is too deep, but
no, okay.
I've, the last 3 years, been on a quest of my own to learn the true, like, what's the purpose of my existence on this planet?
Yeah.
Like, why am I here? And I've talked to 5 or 6 of my teachers now. What do you think the purpose of life is?
Yeah.
And they've given some really good insight. And being able to even ask them a question like that, most teachers would be like, no, I teach
do that, yeah.
I teach math, not philosophy. You need to go to a college and ask a professor that or something.
Interesting,
right?
yeah.
So being able to talk to my teachers about that has been important, but no one has really given me definitive answers.
Wow.
And this is part of, my mom says at least, that every person's meaning is different. So maybe this can't be really taught, but I feel like you can start teaching kids that a lot of kids go through and, like, you ask and they seem happy or they seem content, and I don't know how many are like me. I've talked to a couple other kids and they're like, oh, we were like that, but we kind of figured it out, and then I'm not quite sure that they've 100% figured it out, because when they tried to explain it to me, it all fell apart.
Wow.
And I'm like,
yeah.
Okay. And so I don't know how many other kids really go through this, but for me, it's been a trouble. I feel like once I get on the right path, I'll be able to really fulfill myself to the fullest. Like right now, I'm splitting myself among 10 different things, and if I really was able to understand, like, you are here to do X, I'm the person that takes things apart, dissects them, and says, this is going to be good for me to do, this is going to be bad for me to do, and I will only do the good stuff no matter how painful it is. So part of the problem with not having and that's why I like projects, because as a project you can see the end goal, right? And you're shooting towards the end goal, you do everything you can to get there. With life, there isn't really a target that you're trying to hit. So for me, I'm not, like, there's a right way and a wrong way, but I don't know, but then you also see people start on the wrong way and then turn on the right way. Or start on the right way and then turn on the wrong way. And so you don't know really which way you're supposed to go, like at what point you need to do what. And really, if Coppell could teach its kids not how to live or what to live, but if it could teach its kids that there is that what you live in now, where you're simply accepting. I read a book called I feel like I'm cutting half sentences, but I've read a book called The Celestine Prophecy, which is essentially a series of 9 insights about life, and it's all about why people live the way they live, right? Why they interact the way they interact, and the first and second insight is all about how everyone now is living in a world where they're becoming robots, right? We live, let's take me 30 years down the road, where I imagine myself in an example, right? In the state that I am now. I'm a lawyer, right? Successful at my job. And I take every case that I get, because I don't have that many, right? And so I do the cases, I work really hard, I win a lot of cases, and I go home and I cheer and I drink champagne, right? And I take the money home and I have a huge house, wife, happy family, right? But then I go to bed and I wake up the next morning and I'm like, I still have the money, but the joy of winning the case wore off, right? Like, what's the real point of me winning the case? And the Celestine Prophecy, I feel like, does a really good job of explaining how we don't really know where we are, and we're just kind of living in this world. And the way it explains it is the church used to be like the center of the meaning of life, right? The church would tell you, do this, do this, do this, and you'll get God. That's the meaning of life. And then the church was debunked through the Protestant Reformation, and now it's like, okay, we don't know exactly where to go, and so we're like, science, right? Science can tell us, the scientific method. So we sent scientists out, go find the meaning of life. And now we've kind of let those scientists do what they're doing, but we've ignored them. And now we're just like,
wow.
And we were thinking, oh, if while those scientists are working, let's